Welcome back to the series where I break down each team's schedule and give me your thoughts on their 2023 season. We wrapped up the AFC East in the last video with the New England Patriots. Go check that out. And now we are sticking with the East, but now we're going to the other conference, the NFC East, starting off with the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that just came up short with the runner-ups in the Super Bowl, facing the Kansas City Chiefs. Just a little bit of a bad luck, or you want to say controversy, the big one being, of course, the controversial pass interference at the end that kind of set up the game-winning field goal and kind of ran out the time for the Eagles to do anything. Also, though, a big mistake just from Hurts was just a fumble that kind of got the Chiefs back in the game. But regardless, I do believe Hurts outplayed Mahomes in that one. Just unfortunate. Again, the more controversy being the end of the game with the pass interference. But overall, I mean, before I get to that, the other knock on the Eagles too was just their schedule last year. People think it was pretty easy, especially in the playoffs with facing the Giants that we knew weren't going to compete with the Eagles, and also with the 49ers that were basically without a quarterback the entire game. So it was pretty easy to get to the Super Bowl in people's eyes. But now, much tougher schedule. Also had to overcome the 2022 free agents they had this offseason. I think overall they did really well in the draft and free agency, trades, whatsoever, or whatever you want to call it. Overall, I think they did the amazing job to mend that huge free agency list that they had to go through. Of course, they did lose a few people, but overall, I think they did a pretty good job of keeping a good amount of them. Now we're getting to the season, which I think schedule-wise is tougher than they had last year. Of course, some having, in terms of strength of schedule, the toughest schedule in the NFL. And I think it really shows. Starting off with Week 1, this is the starting away at Foxborough against the Patriots. This is honoring Tom Brady. Of course, if you watch my Patriots video, you know my thoughts on how it's going to go. It's going to be an easy win for the Eagles, in my opinion. The Eagles have just much more elite talent offensively. They can easily go head to head with the Patriots. Even though Belichick and his creative genius with the defense, it's not going to be enough to hold this team. And the thing I kind of mentioned with the Patriots is that I think this year is going to be a team where they're going to have to really heavily rely on the defense, keep it close throughout the game towards the end to give the Patriots a chance to win, because they don't have the offense to go head-to-head, go back and forth with teams like Kansas City, like Buffalo, like Cincinnati, like Philadelphia, 49ers, like those teams like that. They have elite talent on offense. The Patriots don't have any of that. So this should be an easy one for Jalen Hurts, starting the season 1-0. Next, we go to the Minnesota Vikings. The big question mark is going to be Dalvin Cook, because we just don't know if he's going to be on the team because of cap reasons. But just sticking with what the team is right now, on paper, as of right now, he's still in the Vikings. So I'm going to assume, just for this video, he is going to be a Viking during the regular season. Even with Cook, the Eagles should win this. Thursday Night Football, of course, I'm going to throw in the Kirk Cousins, not good in primetime games. And especially, it's a tough challenge to go against the Eagles for the Vikings, regardless. I know I had a record-wise, a great season last year. Really had a lot of luck on their side, made a bunch of comebacks and so forth, but the Eagles aren't going to be that team. I think the Eagles will take care of business at home and have no problem taking down the Vikings. So I would throw out there, I think a big wild card could be Jordan Addison. I'm really high on him. On my Twitter, I have it pinned at Sports Bruisers. I have my way too early 2023 NFL awards. And for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have Jordan Addison because I'm really high on him. A lot of people automatically want to put Jackson Smith is number one wide receiver in this draft class. I have Jordan Addison number one. I think he's a great route runner, great hands. The only thing that people knock on him is his size. 6 foot, 170, around that range, 170, 173. But when you talk about the defense that's going to prioritize Justin Jefferson, the reigning offensive player of the year, along with TJ Hockenson, great tight end, this is going to leave, I think, a one-on-one matchup for Addison. And I think this is a spot where Kirk Cousins could take advantage of the defense right here. But even with that being said, I think the defense is enough to stop Kirk Cousins and get this win against the Vikings. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Don't really have to explain too much on this one. Buccaneers are going to be in tanking mode. We're not sure if it's going to be Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask. I mean, regardless, this team's going to be contending for the first overall pick to try and win the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. This should be an easy game, though. I don't want the Eagles to overlook this one because definitely this could be a team that could just shock people and upset them. But for the Eagles, I don't see that happening. It should be an easy one for them on Monday Night Football. Next, we go to the Washington Commanders at home. This is one where I definitely can see people, I wouldn't get upset. People say, hey, the Eagles could lose this game, because if you go back to last year, it was the same way as well. Washington was at Philly and upsetted them. This was Jalen Hurts' only loss in the regular season when he played. I know towards the end, the Eagles lost a couple games when Minshew was in, but that was because of Hurts was being out. But if we're just sticking with Hurts being the starter on the field in the regular season, this was his only loss last year to the Washington Commanders. So they definitely have the capability of doing this again. Of course, Taylor Heinicke is not the quarterback. It is the second year, but basically rookie Sam Howell at the helm. I think that the Eagles should take a full advantage of Sam Howell and just an experience. Defensively, they do match up pretty well, and that's why I give some possibility of Washington going into Philly and upsetting them. But I think overall the quarterback play is really going to show in this one, and I think the Eagles will take care of business against the Commanders. Next, we're away Week 5 against the Rams. The Rams, I believe, will be much better than they were last year. They were just riddled with injuries across the board. I know we look on paper as well, the moves they did, especially on defensively, getting rid of Floyd, Ramsey, and I think a couple other players I'm missing offhand. Also for offense, Allen Robinson as well. I think they'll have a much better bounce back year. I know other concern is also with Matthew Stafford. Of course, he'll be coming back fully healthy in this upcoming season, but with his age, I think he'll be around, 30, 35, 38. I think he should be at some point during the season. You do kind of get a little nervous with quarterbacks getting up there in age. Not everybody is Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, where they can just play at a high, consistent level and at that age. So there should be a little bit of concern for Matthew Stafford, but regardless, I do believe he'll have a bounce back year, and he'll play good. And the Rams, I think they'll be much better than they were last year, but definitely still be in a rebuilding mode. The Eagles should take full advantage of this one. Next, moving to Week 6 to the New York Jets. This may be a very close game because the defenses, I give the edge to the Jets. They have an elite defense. I know the Eagles definitely have one as well, but I give a slight edge to the defense, especially how they played last year. They really play tough, play physical, get after the quarterback. So definitely this could be a very challenging game. I think it will come down to basically the skill position. I think it will come down to the wide receivers, tight ends, and that's where I give the edge to the Eagles. I mean, quarterback, I do believe Hurts is a better quarterback right now than Aaron Rodgers. We don't know how Rodgers is going to be in his first year with the Jets. If it's going to take him a while, the whole year to get adjusted, he's going to be a little bit of a, people are going to probably criticize him that he's taking a step back, but I think he'll just, how he's shown with Matt LaFleur, his first year there, and obviously last year with the whole, basically a new receiving core. I think he's going to take him a while to get adjusted, but regardless, I do have the New York Jets losing to the Philadelphia Eagles in this one, in my opinion. Once again, very close game, but ultimately I give the slight edge to the Eagles to win this one. So now we are at home for the Miami Dolphins. This is going to be even closer than the Jets game. It might be just a less than a field goal, in my opinion. They really stack up well against each other. Offensively, I give the edge to a duo for wide receiver. I give the edge to Miami Dolphins. I much rather have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle as opposed to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, just solely because of the speed. I mean, Tyreek Hill is just a home run, electric player, probably one of the most electrifying players we probably have ever seen, especially showing at Kansas City, and definitely the Miami Dolphins. He is capable of that. Waddle is certainly capable of that as well. So I think for duo-wise, I give the edge to the Dolphins in this one. But for quarterback play, obviously, no doubt this goes to Philadelphia. Tight end play goes to Philadelphia. Running backs, basically even. I guess it's just kind of what you prefer. I think there's not a huge gap between Raheem Mostert and DeAndre Swift. I know that probably sounds crazy to say, but I don't really see a huge gap in between for them. And at this point in the season, we just don't know with the injury problems with Swift if he's going to make it this far. I mean, of course, you have Penny, you signed in the offseason, and also you still have Gainwell from last year. So definitely it's not horrible if Swift went down, though it's, regardless, I think it's pretty much even for, a toss-up, whoever you want to pick on the running back side. The biggest concern I have for the Dolphins is offensive line. This is where I think the Eagles will thrive in this game, having a great defensive line, rotating the players out, getting the Tua. As a Dolphins fan, that's very concerning because of just the injury concerns with Tua, and more importantly, the concussions. You don't want him to take a bunch of hits. Another thing I look at too is defense. I did say in the Dolphins video, defense is good enough. It's similarly built to the Chiefs, where hey, it might not be pretty, it might not be holding teams to 14 points a game or whatever the top the number one defense holds points per game. It's not going to be like that. It might be a little ugly with giving up a good amount of points per game, but I think they'll do enough to get a stop or two in a game, or potentially a turnover or two in a game. But I think it'll more come down to the defensive play in this one. The Eagles have a far better defensive line than the Dolphins, and this will thrive. But regardless, it's going to be a very, very close game. This might be one of the best. This might be up there as the game of the year, honestly. They stack up really well against each other, but I give the slight edge to the Philadelphia Eagles. Next, we have round 2 of the Washington Commanders at Washington. I have this the same way as well. Eagles winning this one. Once again, I just think they're just a far superior team overall. And once again, I won't be shocked if the Commanders might be in a spot where they might tank for Caleb Williams. Depending on how the season goes, though it'll probably cost Ron Rivera his job regardless, because he just hasn't done well overall on the team. Now you could blame the former owner, Dan Snyder, but regardless, he's the head coach and he'll be the scapegoat. So I think the way the Washington season will go, they'll definitely be in contention, I think, for the top spot in the draft. And if this one, I have the Eagles winning this one. Next, we go to the Dallas Cowboys. This is where the Eagles finally lose. I know this kind of looks like through the first 8 weeks, 8-0. This looks like very similar to last year when they started 11-0. I have the Cowboys winning this one. Once again, it just kind of comes down to a divisional game. It always just seems like it goes back and forth between the Cowboys and Eagles, just stealing games from one another. Of course, I'm going at Philly and stealing this one. Maybe probably shocking people at this point. I would, of course, I would assume for the betting odds that the Eagles are favored to beat Dallas. But overall, once again, this team at times is very unpredictable. Sometimes for the wrong reasons, but also at times for good reasons as well. And this is going to be one of those good reasons where I think they'll shock the Eagles and steal one. So now we get to the bye week, week 10. So you're looking back at it, 8-1 is phenomenal. That's probably, of course, there's certainly a good chance you could probably say 9-0 that they could probably win this game against Dallas. I have them losing, but again, I won't be too upset if you say, hey, Eagles can beat Dallas in week 9. So, but overall, 8-1 is really good. In terms of losses, maybe if you want to say at worst case scenario, they lose to the Jets and Dolphins, so that knocks them down to 6-3. Not horrible, but I think they have the capability. They've definitely taken on the Jets and Dolphins, but overall, how I have it predicted, 8-1 is phenomenal, and they'll definitely be not only one of the best teams in the NFC, the best teams in NFL. So now we get to week 11. Probably this is also another, definitely the most anticipated matchup in this one. Monday Night Football, rematch of the Super Bowl at Foxborough. I have I have the Eagles getting revenge against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it will play exactly how it did in the Super Bowl. Very high scoring, very close, a ton of big plays, but I will give the edge to the Eagles. I think they have learned their lesson against the Chiefs and know how to handle them. The only thing that kind of benefits them, at least, which doesn't matter because they were number one offense last year, is just not having amazing talent on offense outside of Travis Kelce. Like I said, I don't think it means anything because they were number one offense last year for yards and points per game. But I think that's definitely giving them an edge, especially with adding more pieces on the defensive line, getting after Patrick Mahomes, which I think was definitely an issue in the Super Bowl. I think this is a game where they'll get revenge and beat Kansas City, and I think this will really be a statement win for the Eagles as we get closer to the end of the season and starting the postseason. So next we go to the Buffalo Bills. I have the Eagles beating the Bills. I just worry about the defense. For the Bills' sake, looking as a Bills fan, I just worry about the defensive line. Definitely have a ton of great players. Do the same thing to rotate their defensive line. The only difference is they just have better players and they do a better job at it than we do. And it really comes down to that. Offensively, as a wide receiver group, as a 1-2 combo for dual wide receivers, I would give the edge to the Eagles, even though Stephon Diggs is better than A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I just question the second wide receiver. I think it really comes down to that play, Devontae Smith or Gabe Davis. Davis had last year had a pretty, I think, for a lot of us Bills fan standards, had a pretty bad year. I know stat-wise, it doesn't look horrible, and you look at it, it's like, well, how do you have a bad year? If you watch him week in and week out, very shoddy at times, dropping good amount of passes, just didn't look like himself. I know he was injured last year, and hopefully for our sake that he bounced back. He can bounce back, and he can definitely be one of the best wide receiver twos. Hopefully he can be the playoff Davis from Kansas City when he had over 200 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. That's the guy. I know that he has the capability of doing that, and I hope he can bounce back. But I think overall, this will be a close one, but I give the edge to the Eagles. I think it'll just more so come down to the defensive play, especially the defensive line, and also who can run the football better. I think that's also what's going to come down to, even though I think I would rather take James Cook over Swift or whoever the Eagles, whoever's on the Eagles running back group. But I just believe the Eagles are a much better team running the football than the Bills right now. In years, the Bills have shown that they are not capable of running it consistently and running it well. I have the Buffalo Bills losing to the Eagles, falling short. So starting off with the Eagles after the bye week, amazing back-to-back games, no doubt. Chiefs and Bills win. I mean, if this is how it goes, there's no question the Eagles are going to be in talks of Super Bowl favorites, and especially number 1 in the NFC to go to the Super Bowl. Rematch once again, NFC Championship rematch against the San Francisco 49ers at home. I have the 49ers getting revenge on them. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be playing. If it's going to be Trey Lance, Sam Darnold. We don't know the stats about Brock Purdy with his arm. But regardless, I think the 49ers will get revenge on this one. They seem pretty pissed after the NFC Championship game. The Eagles players were kind of bragging about beating them without a quarterback. I think it's really going to fuel them for this matchup, and they'll win this one. And I think they'll kind of knock Philadelphia back down from the pedestal a little bit. But overall, no, even regardless, the Eagles will be favorites in the NFC. I mean, the Eagles and 49ers are probably battling back and forth between the best or top team in the NFC, even because we all know the NFC is lacking in elite teams as opposed to AFC, where it's really stacked. So next we move to Dallas. This is where the Eagles get revenge in this one. Sunday Night Football at Jerry World. I think they'll beat the Cowboys. They'll get revenge. They'll split the series. I can definitely see that like they did last year. Hopefully for this one, both quarterbacks aren't out, or one of the quarterbacks aren't out when they faced each other. Of course, the first matchup being Dak Prescott being out, and the second one being Jalen Hurts was out. Hopefully we can actually finally see these two go at it. But overall, I give the edge to Philadelphia, just simply the quarterback play. I trust Jalen Hurts way more than Dak Prescott. It really comes down to that. Offensive line, I really do question the Cowboys. I don't think they got much better at that. And with Smith and Martin getting up there in age, having also injury concerns, the defensive line for the Eagles will take full advantage of that. And I think they will dominate the line. And I think make it definitely tough for the running game for Tony Pollard. But for this one, I do have the Eagles winning at Jerry World, getting revenge from Week 9. Next, we move to the Seattle Seahawks. I have the Seahawks winning this one. Maybe a little bit of a shocker, but I look at offensively for the wide receivers. It's a very tough trio. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and now newly acquired Jackson Smith-Njigba at the slot position. If Geno Smith can play like he did last year, it's going to be very tough to stop this. It's definitely a great trio of wide receivers. The biggest, I think, big factor in this one is going to be Jackson Smith, how well he plays throughout the season, and at this point in Week 15. Also, I like the running backs they got, Kenneth Gainwell, and also the running back they got from UCLA. I know in my video I had him as reaches, and the more I kind of sat and looked at the comments, I kind of thought about it. I do like the pick, so I kind of do want to apologize for that one, missing the mark on the reaches video for Seattle on that one. Adding a 1-2 combo, I think is definitely a smart move. So for that one, I think it's a great 1-2 combo for, especially for Walker, who really shined last year when Penny went down. Once again, if Geno Smith can really play like how he did last year, it's gonna be a huge help. And defensively, I did not expect them to get Witherspoon with their first round pick. Adding or putting him alongside Woolen and all the other players, Jamal Adams and so forth. I think this is definitely a Seattle should be a team that could shock a lot of people this year. and possibly make a deep run in the playoffs. I know it's probably crazy to say, but I think Seattle could be a dangerous team this year. But I'm gonna give it in a stunning, probably upset against the Eagles. I had the Seahawks winning this one. Next, we go to the New York Giants, which is the first time they're playing the Giants this season. It's very late in the season, probably like one of the latest I've seen team face a division. For first team facing a divisional rival, first time in a season in a regular season, week 16, very very late. I have the Eagles winning this one at home. I definitely have the crowd in their favor, obviously. I kind of just question Daniel Jones a little bit. He's not going to regress. I think the bigger question mark is how much is he going to progress in his becoming a better quarterback than he did last year. Like I said, in my last video, stat-wise, it's not impressive. It's very mediocre. But he was able. But if you look on watching TV, watching the film, he did play much better. He severely cut down on the turnovers, and he helped lead the Giants to the playoffs, and getting a win against the Vikings. So you have to give him that. I think he'll definitely progress. He did from last year, especially having Darren Waller. Now the big factor is he going to be healthy throughout the season? If he is, that's a huge weapon they have on the offensive side. One of the best tight ends in the NFL when healthy. So I have but regardless of saying that, I have the Eagles winning this one. Arizona is another tricky one too. A lot of people project them to be one of the worst teams in the NFL and have one of the top picks. I just don't know with this team, especially with Kyler Murray, if he's gonna be hurt or not. I just don't like the makeup of this team. I think it's just post Cliff Kingsbury. I think it's gonna be a rough first year for the new head coach. And overall, I think they might have to kind of have a clean slate, especially at the quarterback position. But I'll get to that when we get to the Arizona Cardinals. I think this should be an easy win for the Philadelphia Eagles. Wrapping up Week 18, the New York Giants. I'm going to say the Giants win this one. I could probably make an argument just because of just how dominant, going at this point, having 13-3. They're probably sitting players out, resting them for the playoffs. So I can definitely see as a possibility where the Giants may just take full advantage of this and just get an easy win. Again, I just think at this point, I don't think the only thing you'll be really fighting for is the number one seed. But I could definitely see this team resting players, getting ready for the postseason, and again, not risking injury, and as a team that could definitely take advantage. The Giants could take advantage of this game and get a win out of them. But I don't think ultimately it's the end of the world if they do. If not, if they're still fighting for the number one seed, then the Philadelphia Eagles are winning this one. But if they're sitting people out, the Giants I think will take full advantage of this because they're fighting for a wild card spot and they'll win this one. So to wrap up my 2023 season for the Philadelphia Eagles, I have the Eagles going 13-4. I think this is no doubt a phenomenal season for the Eagles. Much tougher schedules last year, so you don't have to so people can't use the excuse of they benefited from a weak schedule. Playoffs I think will be much different from last year, so people won't be able to use the excuse of they had an easy time going through the NFC. This is definitely, I think this is my team I'm picking to go to the Super Bowl again. They definitely have a great chance. 1-2 probably being the ones going to rival them is the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC. This could potentially be a rematch again to last year's NFC Championship game where we could see them have a rematch, 49ers and Eagles. But I'm going to give the slight edge to Philadelphia again. I think they're pissed that they fell short of the Super Bowl last year, and I think they definitely have the team still to go back out there and compete and potentially go back there and win one. But 13-4, definitely, at least offhand, just thinking this is probably going to be the best record for the Eagles. The only one I could think of maybe is the 49ers, who could have the same record or a tad bit worse. But the Eagles I have is my number one team in NFC. Comes down to the quarterback play. Jalen Hurts played at MVP level last year. Stats aren't too crazy, but especially in the playoffs and more importantly in the Super Bowl, he really showed that. And I think this one, they're really going to kind of shut a lot of people up with the whole easy schedule, easy playoff format, and they'll win this one. But that's my thoughts on the Eagles. Got 13-4. Let me know your thoughts down below. That being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.